Welcome to Pedagogy on the Go, short audio segments where we explore creative, research driven teaching practices in hospitality classrooms. I'm Dr. Michael J. Tews from Penn State University, and I'm delighted you're joining us today. Today I'm speaking with Dr. Ankie Hoefnagels from the Hotel Management School Maastricht in the Netherlands. Ankie brings a wealth of experience in human skills development and shares her use of a method called circles of understanding. Rooted in restorative justice and community dialogue, this method began as a way for people to gather in circles, share experiences, resolve conflict, and build empathy and connection through open conversation. The Academy of Understanding has reimagined that concept through a digital app where groups of 5 to 6 people complete short, real life challenges or pearls every 4 days. These pearls focus on themes like self regulation, critical thinking, intercultural fluency, communication, and resilience, encouraging participants to do things differently and notice what shifts. The overall learning objective is to build inner development and 21st century skills through reflection, connection, and shared experience in a safe, supportive space. In this episode, Ankie and I discuss how she's brought this method into her classrooms and what she's seen in her students' engagement and why it's such a powerful tool for personal and professional growth. Let's jump into the conversation. First and foremost, thank you for taking the time to be here with us today, Ankie. I truly appreciate your time. The first question I have for you is, what are circles of understanding? How do they work, and why are they such a powerful educational tool?
Okay, Michael, thank you for having me. I love to talk about the circles of understanding. They are a program of online micro-learning activities that students can do time and place independent, but in which they join a circle of other students, of peers, with which they share the results of their activities. And as I already said, it's time and place independent. So rather than talking about critical thinking in the classroom, they'll do exercises, activities, interventions outside the classroom, but they will report on them online in a specially designed app.
Can you give me some examples when this method really worked and came to life?
Mhm. Yeah, I did the circles with staff members, so with colleagues of mine, but also with students from different academies. And what I always see is that students love doing work in the field. And I can give an example of a Pearl because this micro learning activity is called a Pearl, and there are about 160s, but users can curate. They can select those that they find important. So we did one, for instance, that was called National Compliment Day. And then all students would go out in the field, and every person they had an interaction with, they would squeeze in a little compliment to this person. And then they would report back in the group. How did this go? Was it easy for me to give a compliment? How did people respond to getting the compliments? Were my compliments sincere? And how were they perceived or something like that. That was a really nice one. There's also one that is um, today you will go to the supermarket as you do your grocery shopping, but approach a stranger and ask them for help. What was that like? Sometimes students uh, are asked to record an interaction they have with someone or something they see in the street. Some students will write blogs. Some students will create short videos. So it's really 21st century skills, inner development learning, but on location. And the learning happens while doing the activities, but also sharing them with others.
Could you give an example of a couple more of these pearls? So it sounds like they're built around pearls, and pearls are these micro
Yeah,
assignments. You gave us an
exactly. Yeah.
example of a couple of them. Could you give me
Mhm.
an example of a couple more to bring these to life to our listeners?
Well, I already gave you the one. There's also one that says, today, when someone has an opinion, you provide the opposite of this opinion. You provide a counter argument. So, whenever somebody says something very vehemently, you say the opposite. What happens? How do people respond? There's one that I find personally very challenging, and that is uh, ask a person you don't really know very well and ask them if you can look them in the eye for 1 minute. So have full eye contact with that person, uninterrupted for 1 minute. Can be your neighbor, or can be a peer, or a family member, or no, not a family member because you know them. But I. Uh, I remember for myself that I found it very difficult, but I also enjoyed it a lot. And afterwards, I felt I had a really meaningful connection with the person. And I saw in the reporting with my colleagues that some people started to laugh, others started to cry, became emotional. There were also people who said, I just can't do that. But then within the circle, you would explain why you can't do that. And I learned a lot from how different people are in being able to open up, showing their vulnerability, but also how beautiful it can be to connect with a person in a meaningful way. And yeah, I had this my own experience, but I see it happening all the time when students do this.
Excellent. Now, I hear a lot of benefits coming out of these. What do you
Mhm.
think is the primary short-term and a long-term benefit of the circles?
The short-term benefit is that rather than doing activities inside the classroom, you go out into the field and you learn in your own specific way and you report in your own specific way. In the longer term, I think the benefits can be indeed uh, being aware of those inner development goals and how you can develop them. For instance, resilience or commitment or compassion. Um, and I think the longer term benefit is also making meaningful connections with others because I have noticed people really becoming friends after having been in the circle for, let's say, 60 days. So I actually encountered students from different academies who had never met before, but over those 60 days, they had become friends. And when they met each other
Mhm.
on campus, I noticed that they knew each other very well already, having not having seen each other for at all, huh?
So they sound like a really powerful tool for engaging both short-term and long-term
Yeah,
connections.
yeah, I
Now, in
think
terms
so.
of making this work, what are some of the logistics to make it work? And similarly, what are some of the problems that might need to be overcome to make them
Yeah,
work? So now I'm
yeah.
getting to the how-tos.
Yeah, I think the circles really work well in conjunction with other forms of teaching. So, when inner development goals or 21st century skills are part of the learning, of course, you also have in class activities, but you let them run alongside of those in class activities. It adds a dimension to learning. The
Mhm.
downside can be that because students work classroom independently, some students don't put as much effort in it as others. And there's no more horrible thing than being ghosted in a circle. So if one of the students never responds and doesn't contribute, then the other students might feel discouraged. So I say it's very important to address these issues upfront and to provide or create some sort of code of conduct beforehand. This is best done in a kickoff session where you start the circles and you divide the groups, and then you let the students themselves, on a flip over, create the conditions for successful collaboration. So, what do you need for this circle to be successful? They would say things like everybody responds to the challenge that we get, or when people do not contribute as much as others, we can call upon them to do this more. Or so generally, we should always be respectful and polite. We should not judge each other. I've always seen that students are very, very well able to create this code of conduct because they are online a lot. They do a lot in online communities.
So, as an instructor, what's one piece of advice that you would give them moving forward if they wanted to implement this? Like, what's probably the first step to get this integrated into their curriculum?
Um, yeah, it should be meaningful contribution to the goals and objectives that you have in that particular module, program, course element. It should make sense to the students. For instance, if personal leadership or management skills or intercultural awareness is part of that program element, then
Hmm.
it makes sense to add the circles. I love it because actually I don't have to do anything. The students do all the work. Outside
Yeah.
class, I just reap the benefits at the end. But yeah, I also sorry, now sorry, I lost your question.
It
You
was
were
just
saying,
like one piece of advice,
yeah,
or how
piece
do
of
we get these
advice. Yeah.
things moving?
Yeah, so create a kickoff meeting because it can do it online or offline, but students should really know we're in this together. So there are 40 of us, and we're going to work in small circles of 5. They should know this. The code of conduct is the second thing. How do we interact with each other, and how do we make sure this is a safe activity? And the third thing is moderation. I am against teachers being part of the circle because students won't open up when there's a teacher present. They will feel like they're
Mhm.
being monitored by the teacher and they won't self disclose as much. But I am in favor of a teacher putting, let's say, monitoring the progress by asking the students, how are you doing? Is everybody contributing? Do you still feel okay? And have interim, so midterm of the circles, which can be like 20 days, but also 60 days, have like another online meeting or on location where the
Mhm.
students say, what, what did we like? Sometimes students say, I thought the pearls were a bit repetitive. I thought some of them were similar, or that one was boring, or I would love if in the second half we would do something about creativity or something like that. And finally have a final meeting where you give the students a sort of certificate of participation, so they actually have a tangible, let's say, proof of having participated. Students, I notice, just love getting that tangible token because this is
Mhm.
not assessed with a test, right? This is not something you can test as you would test in class activities.
Well, Anki, thank you very much for sharing your insights and wisdom. I think these are very innovative ways rather, to get people engaged, and an innovative way to make your classroom environment more creative and more dynamic. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and have a great day. A big thank you to Anki for joining us and for sharing how circles of understanding bring learning to life through reflection, vulnerability, and connection. Hearing about pearls like giving compliments or sharing eye contact shows how small exercises can spark meaningful growth. And thank you for tuning in to Pedagogy on the Go. To learn more about the Circles of Understanding method, visit academyofunderstanding.com/circles.